There is something about Las Vegas in the 1970s that people who lived it can still feel. A world where $25 bought you an Elvis ticket at Caesars. But the real secrets were whispered under the neon hum. Tonight, we're diving past the glittering strip, through the smoke-filled showrooms, and into the truth about a city where dreams, danger, and $2 steaks collided. Was it really glamour or something much more complicated? On the Strip in the 1970s, every step felt like stepping into a world built for excess. Caesar's Palace, the Flamingo, the Sands, the Stardust, the Riviera, each one competing to outshine the next, and each with its own brand of spectacle. The air inside was thick with cigarette smoke, and the constant jingle of coins spilling into metal trays. Red velvet draped the walls and carpeted the floors, swallowing sound, and making time feel slippery. Casino ceilings hung low, lights dim just enough to keep you focused on the tables, the stage, or the slot machines. Even the carpets were designed to keep your eyes moving, patterns twisting and swirling and leading you deeper into the action. Showrooms were the heart of the Strip's promise. For $15 or $25, you could sit just a few feet from legends. Elvis in his white jumpsuit at the International, Sinatra crooning at the Sands, Dean Martin and Tom Jones working the crowd with a wink. The energy in those rooms pulsed with anticipation. Sequined showgirls gliding between tables, and cocktails balanced with practiced grace. Dinner shows were a ritual: prime rib for $8, baked Alaska for dessert, and a sense that you were part of something bigger than yourself. The waitstaff moved with the confidence of people who had seen it all, serving up shrimp cocktails and stories in equal measure. Beneath the glamour, every detail was engineered to keep guests playing. Clocks were nowhere to be found. Drinks arrived fast and strong, always on the house for a lucky streak. The Strip was a world where fortunes changed by the hour, and the line between visitor and high roller could blur in a single night. For most, the real prize was not just the jackpot, it was the feeling of being swept up in the city's endless show. Downtown, Fremont Street was a different animal. Locals called it Glitter Gulch, a stretch where the neon was stacked tighter, the crowds pressed closer, and the action felt a little less polished, but a lot more real. The big names here were Binion's Horseshoe, the Golden Nugget, and the Four Queens, places where the regulars knew the bartenders by name, and the dealers remembered your favorite game. The famous neon canopy threw off a glow that seemed to promise both trouble and luck in equal measure. Here, you did not need a bankroll to feel welcome. A $2 steak dinner was more than just a rumor. It was a nightly ritual. You could sit elbow to elbow with a cab driver, a cocktail waitress just off her shift, or a retiree stretching a 20 at the Keno Lounge. Drinks came fast and strong, poured by bartenders who had seen every kind of winner and loser. The gambling was cheaper, the rules were looser, and the stories swapped across the tables had a way of sticking around longer than the chips. Fremont, after dark, belonged to the people who kept the city running. It was where dealers let down their guard, where off-duty showgirls nursed sore feet, and where the city's real pulse could be felt in the hum of conversation and the clatter of dice. For a lot of locals, this was the Vegas that mattered, a place where you could eat well, play a little, and feel like you belonged, no matter the size of your wallet. Casino paychecks in the 1970s carried real weight. A full-time dealer could count on $200 to $300 a week, plus whatever tips came in from the felt. Showgirls earned similar money, but a chunk of it disappeared as soon as it landed, because costumes, fishnets, shoes, and hair appointments all came out of pocket. Even so, those steady wages meant more than just a night out. They meant putting money aside for a down payment or covering the mortgage on a new ranch house east of the Strip. Most folks worked odd hours. Graveyard shifts kept the city humming at 3 in the morning, with dealers swapping stories at the break room table and waitresses heading home as the sun came up. The rhythm was relentless, but the security was real. The Culinary Union, Local 2 and 26, was the backbone. In 1976, after a tense standoff with the major casinos, the union secured an hourly raise of $1.35 and stronger health and pension benefits. That kind of bargaining power mattered. It meant a pit boss or a cocktail server could plan for something beyond the next shift, knowing the job would be there and that the pay would keep up. For many, the union contract was the difference between just getting by and actually getting ahead in Las Vegas. A steady job on the Strip in the 1970s could turn into something solid. An actual set of house keys, a front door, a place to call your own, a home. In neighborhoods like Paradise Palms, just east of the casinos, 3-bedroom ranch houses started in the 20s and 30s, creeping toward $50,000 by the end of the decade. Casino paychecks and union security made it possible for dealers, pit bosses, and cocktail waitresses to buy new homes, sometimes on a single income. The dream was modest but real. A single-story stucco house with a flat roof, rock garden out front instead of grass, and maybe a backyard kidney-shaped pool for the kids. Inside, the 1970s style took over. Gold or avocado shag carpet swallowed your feet in the living room. Wood paneling lined the family room, and sunken conversation pits made every gathering feel like a party. Wet bars came standard, ready for after-shift cocktails or neighborhood get-togethers. Kitchens glowed with harvest gold and avocado appliances. And every hallway seemed to echo with the sound of kids running in from the heat. Apartment complexes closer to downtown offered their own slice of the good life. Kidney-shaped pools, breeze-block walls, and the hum of neighbors coming and going at all hours. Whether in a tract house or an apartment, these were the places where casino workers built their lives, raised families, and spent their hard-earned pay on something lasting. For many, the reward for all those late nights was not just a bigger paycheck. It was the comfort of a home that felt truly earned. Saturday meant piling into the car, windows down, radio blasting, and heading out for a $3.99 all-you-can-eat buffet. Casino dining rooms were bright with laughter, and the clatter of plates, prime rib, and shrimp cocktails stacked high for less than the cost of a movie ticket. Families swapped stories over endless coffee refills, while teenagers eyed the dessert bar, planning their next move. Gas hovered around 55 cents a gallon, so it was nothing to cruise Charleston Boulevard all night. Muscle cars and shiny sedans lined up at every stoplight. Camaros, Firebirds, and Dodge Challengers rumbled alongside Cadillacs and Lincolns, each one a rolling statement. Movie houses downtown played Jaws, Star Wars, and The Godfather, their marquees glowing against the desert sky. On hot afternoons, Lake Mead called, ice chests loaded, kids cannonballing into the water. By 1979, In-N-Out Burger opened its doors, and suddenly late-night burgers became a new ritual. For locals, weekends felt wide open, full of easy pleasures and the freedom to chase them. Mob control in Las Vegas during the 1970s was an open secret, but most people kept their heads down and their mouths shut. Skimming cash from the count rooms, money that never touched the books, was as much a part of the business as the neon outside. Operation Strawman would later reveal how millions disappeared off the top, flowing from the Stardust and Fremont Street joints straight to mob bosses in Chicago and Kansas City. Federal investigators began closing in, and the old ways grew riskier by the year. Meanwhile, Howard Hughes was buying up casinos at a pace no one had seen before. His arrival in 1967 and the $300 million he poured into properties like the Desert Inn made corporate ownership possible and started to push out the shadowy partners. By the end of the decade, the city's population had doubled. More than 500,000 people called Clark County home, and annual visitors soared from 11 million to 15 million. But not everyone shared in the boom. On the west side, black families still found themselves shut out of the Strip's best jobs and neighborhoods despite new laws. One longtime Westside resident remembered that you could work at the hotels, but you knew where you belonged. The lines were invisible, but they were there. The city was growing up fast, but its old divisions and dangers had not disappeared. They had just gone underground. Las Vegas now draws over 40 million visitors a year, and the city's restless spirit, born in the neon-lit nights of the 1970s, still shapes every risk and reinvention. The past isn't just nostalgia here. It's a reminder that in Vegas, change is the only sure bet. Share your Vegas memories below.